everyone. Welcome to At Home with Sally. I'm Sally Clarkson, and I have the biggest privilege in the world to be with so many friends from all over the world who join me every week to listen to my stories, inspiration, biblical encouragement, and I am just so glad that you're here today. Thanks so much for joining me. Hi, my friends. It's Sally here, and sitting in my little room in Oxford just before my son Joel and I have tacos for dinner with pinto beans and all sorts of salsas and chips. We rarely get to have this, but we did find a store here in Oxford that actually has all the ingredients that we need. So we are looking forward to our Mexican food dinner tonight. I hope that you are having a great day. And I usually encourage you during Teatime Tuesday, join me for a cup of tea. It happens that I poured myself a cup of my Yorkshire Gold tea, and I tell you all about it in my new book, Teatime Discipleship. But anyway, I am so happy to have you here. I feel very blessed and very grateful to be able to do what I do and to have the friends that I have all over the world. And I send my deepest love and affection and prayers to all of you. I realize that to be in a kind of a sort of sisterhood of kindred spirits is just more than I ever thought I would have the privilege of doing. So thank you for joining me here today. I'm looking forward to a lot of things I have to share with you today. But first of all, I wanted to share my tea time quote by the author George Orwell. And he said, "Tea is one of the mainstays of civilization in this country." And I love that he said that. I think that in a funny sort of way, tea time, now it's turned into coffee and coffee times, sort of, but just having tea time in the afternoons has really kind of connected and civilized a lot of people in the country. They get together, they talk, they're friends, they stop working so hard, have their cup of tea, and then they move on with life. And I love it that George Orwell said that. As you know, he is an author of important books. The two that I am familiar with the most is called his novel Animal Farm, and also 1984. And he was a novelist, a journalist, an essayist, a critic. But I think that these novels were very important because they were written after World War II. And I think that one of his main focal points was that he saw, which I think is kind of rightly so, even biblically, that language is mind control. He said that language is the center or the central importance to human thought because it structures as well as limits ideas that individuals are capable of forming and expressing. And I think that's why God so emphasized the word, memorizing the word, pondering the word, thinking about it morning, noon, and night, taking every thought captive, setting our minds on truth, because words really do. God gave us the ability to communicate deeply with other human beings and with Him, with God, through words and through communication. And so George Orwell, who said that tea was the mainstay of civilization in this country, is known for shaping those ideas into novels that many people read secularly in high schools. And so it's just an author that maybe you should at least know about. I'm not necessarily commending or not commending his works, but he is someone who did write, who is worth knowing about because he did influence a lot of people during his lifetime. Anyway, I just thought that was very interesting that I was reading about his life this week. I think I've told you before that tea time is not necessarily, if somebody says, what are we having for tea? They mean, what are we having for dinner tonight? Tea became kind of a light meal for many people in several of the countries, England as well as countries that were formed and shaped by English. And as I look back on our lives, I've gotten so many letters in the past couple of weeks. It's really fun. I love getting all of your letters about the ways that you're having tea time, the ways that you're beginning to reach out to your children, friends, people at care homes, people in hospitals, and so on and so forth. And I have a couple of stories to tell you today that have been very, very encouraging to me. When one of my sons was a teen and particularly fraught with hormones, teen angst, or maybe angst is how a lot of Americans say it, and all sorts of life questions. What about this? And why do you think that? Why do you believe this? And I want to do this. And so I got in the habit, I was praying about what to do with him. So I got in the habit of taking him out once a week during this particular season of his life. And I would take him out for coffee and breakfast. That was his version of tea time. He would drive the car because, when a teen gets their driver's license, they want to drive. So he would drive the car. I would hold on for dear life, and he would get up to the speed limit on our freeway as quickly as humanly possible. And of course, we always listened to loud music on our ride because he always said to me, Mom, listen to the words of this song. You'll love it. And he would go through lists of his favorite songs. So that's when I learned, actually, when my children were teenagers, to listen to the songs they were listening to and to engage in them. Music has been a very important part of our lives. And then we would get to this particular childlike Starbucks drive-through. And so we would drive through and we would get our quote-unquote tea food. And he would always get an egg white sandwich. I would never get an egg white sandwich. And I would get a Gouda cheese egg sandwich. And both of us would get really strong coffees. And as I look back now, what this shaped in our lives every single week, my whole focus during this time was to befriend him, to talk with him, to see how he was doing, to ask him what he was thinking, to tell me about his friends. And these tea times gave me the right to be his friend, to ask questions of his life, and I was able to shape input in a palatable way over food and music and friendship. And I was able to mentor him invisibly when he didn't even know what I was up to or what was going on. I used tea time discipleship literally with all of my teens this way. And I still do to some degree, although they also mentor me, I have to say lately. But it is still a habit that we have been going on forever. And one-on-one time with each of my kids, and sometimes I would just do it every couple of weeks because I tried to hit all of my teenagers at least once a month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month, whether it was even in my bedroom. I always kept cookie dough balls. Many of you know this. And I would pop a couple in the oven with a cup of tea and say, hey, let's go chat for a few minutes. And it gave me entrance into their hearts. I really think that to influence, to mentor someone does take time. It takes personal conversation. It takes encouraging words. It takes affirming and understanding who they are and what's going on. And so that was one of the ways that I used tea time discipleship with my kids, and particularly with my boys. I wanted to tell you another story that I heard this week, and I would just love it if you would continue to send me what you're doing now. We have Mom Heart groups on Facebook, and a lot of women are going on Facebook in our Mom Heart groups and saying, is there a Mom Heart group in Kentucky or in El Paso, Texas, or in wherever? And a lot of women are responding, even if it's just 1 or 2 people, to find 1 or 2 people in your town who would get together once in a while for a cup of coffee, or a cup of tea, I'm sorry. Either one, doesn't matter. And I think that I want to say, will you match every single person that volunteers? No, but give them at least one chance. But when women are hungry for fellowship and friendship and can gather, there is a good chance that long term they will become each other's support systems. When I look at the women who are working with me today, I have a number of administrators that help me work on my ministry and on my membership and on all sorts of different things, podcasts, articles, launches. And all of them came to me through either a conference or a small group or a leadership training at my house. We became friends over the ideals that we shared, and then we shared in ministry together. It's just been, I have the most amazing, wonderful, steadfast friends for all these years. And it happened because we gathered together over our mutual times together. So one of the stories that I got that is very encouraging is that someone told me that they heard that Clay and I had been having tea together for 36 years. And it's really true. When our children were very small and we lived in Austria, we started drinking tea together. And every afternoon when he had his office in our house, we would stop for tea. Sometimes it was together, many times it was together. It's almost every afternoon now when I'm home at 3 o'clock or 3:30, we have a cup of tea and talk. Sometimes even at 10 in the morning, another cup. But it was, we always do it on weekends, many weekdays. But as I look back now, that 15 or 20 minutes kept us talking. It kept us knowing where the other one was. It kept us sharing ideas. And so a woman heard me sharing about this somewhere, and she started having tea time with her own husband several times a week whenever possible. And she sent me a message and said, a few weeks ago, my husband, who had been very healthy the day before, suddenly contracted a terrible illness that prohibits him from walking. They think that he's going to be able to walk again, but it was a devastating disease, and he's been in the hospital. And she said that every day that they are in the hospital, the event of the day, which gave both of them stability, time together, friendship, is she brought their 2 teacups from her house to the hospital, made them a tea time together, gave them a time just to talk and be friends. And she said it has kept them stable and centered during this very difficult time in the hospital. And so please share your tea time stories with me. I've had tea time stories about starting this with little children and giving them a place just to kind of settle in. I have to tell you that this week, oh my goodness, I am ridiculously committed to my children and my grandchildren. I absolutely love them. They can get away with murder with me at these days. But last weekend was my Lillian is my oldest grandchild, and it was her 5th birthday. And so we've been building towards, on this particular birthday weekend, she would spend the night with me all by herself. And we would have dinner together. Her favorite dinner is spaghetti sauce with meat over egg noodles. And Joel made dozens of chocolate chip cookies because that's what her favorite dessert was. But anyway, I was meeting Sarah in at a playground in a school park that the kids often wanted to go to. And as I was walking down the block, and Lillian saw me through the playground, through the chain wire fence, she's waving her little hands, running as hard and fast as she could. Queenie, come here! And she was so excited, and that was all for me. That was all for me. I really do love my grandkids. They make me cry. And then she said, look what I have, a big suitcase. And she had packed all of her little clothes in a computer bag that I had given Sarah many years ago. As kind of a computer overnight bag. And she told me every single thing that was in the bag. And she told me what she had gotten for her birthday from her mommy and daddy. And she said, "Oh, I can't wait to be with you." We talked. We put together puzzles. But the main thing is, as we were walking down the street, she held my hand. She, kind of was swinging it up and down. "I'm so excited. This is going to be so much fun." And then she said, now, Queenie, the first thing we must do is have our cup of tea together." Oh, this sweet girl is already indoctrinated. I have a special little silver cup. It's a metal cup. It's a pretty little shiny cup that I got for her because it'll never break. And she has been drinking out of this since she was 2 years old. And she comes and gets that little cup of tea. She says, "Will you light a little candle?" And I have a little votive candle that I put on the table. And I had a couple of friends had given me flowers this week, so we had flowers on our table. And even if something is just from the dollar store, which most of our gifts are, or the little stores around where I got mine at Tiger's, we wrap them as though they're the most important piece of jewelry or diamond in the whole wide world. And so we took time to open her little packages, and we talked, and then she cuddled up with me and slept with me all night. Of course, she didn't get to sleep until 9:15, and she awakened at 5:45 in the morning. But anyway, I just had so much fun. I just adore these precious children. Okay, so anyway, I have had a really fun week, and I have loved hearing from all of you. I wanted to give you a few little tips of things. First of all, I'm just going to tell you, I was watching a Mary Berry. That's a cook. She is a cook, a baker. She has her own show here in the UK, and she used to be on the Great British Bakeoff. But anyway, I was waiting for someone, and I just flipped on her little cooking channel to see what is Mary Berry baking these days. And I have actually had this someplace before. It's called a Rusti, R-U-S-T-I. But when I had it before, they said it was a Swiss Rusti. But she said, "Oh, no, it is a Scottish Rusti." And so what it is you... whatever kind of bacon you have in the States, it's a rasher of bacon. It's thin. You can make it crisp. I usually do mine in the oven on the rare times that we have it, or I use turkey bacon as well. And here in the UK, it looks a little bit more like a thin piece of ham with that little piece of fat on the outside. So anyway, Mary Berry said, cut your bacon into tiny little pieces and saute it in your frying pan. And then in the oil that is left from these very lean pieces of bacon, right? No, it doesn't matter what kind of bacon you have. And so she said, then add onions to the oil and the bacon, and saute your onions until they're translucent. And then grate, peel potatoes and grate a potato, however finely you want it. And then she said the key to having a crisp Rusti is you put your potatoes in a cloth, a cheesecloth, or just a dish towel, and you squeeze out all of the water. And quite a bit of water will come out, and that makes the potatoes drier. Then you add just the tiniest bit of oil to the same pan where you had the onions and the bacon, and then you put the potatoes, quite a few potatoes, in with the bacon and the onions, and then you mash it down so that it fills your whole small frying pan all the way. And it's a smooth little flat piece of kind of almost like a potato patty, I would say. You mash it down so that it's in the oil, and then you wait until it's golden brown, and then you can flip it over. An easy way is to flip it over onto a plate and then turn the plate back in on the other side to the oil so that the other side can get crisp into the pan. And then when it is crisp and the potatoes are cooked all the way through, you take it out, put it on a plate, And then, of course, Mary Berry says you must then have fried eggs. And in the States, oftentimes we do over easy, which means we flip the fried eggs onto their side. But anyway, she put 2 fried eggs on top of this roasty, salted and peppered it, and she said, "Oh, my mother loved this." And it's I wanted to tell you about it today because I am a little bit highlighting Scotland. And so she said that her mother grew up in Scotland and that the roosty is a Scottish treat. So I thought that would be fun for you today. Another person I'm going to mention from Scotland, it's a series of books that I just love. And this woman's name is D.E., which stands for Dorothy Emily Stevenson. She was born in the 18th of November, 1892, and she died in 1973. But she was a best-selling author. I think I read that she published her books and they sold over 7 million, which is a lot. And she published more than 40 light romantic novels. Now, why am I telling you about her today? I have to tell you that there was a time when I listened to 3 of her novels this year on my Audible when I was walking. And sometimes I really believe that we should fill our lives with innocence, with hope, with beauty, with all sorts of things that can help us to just to have hope for our lives. And one little second here, I am going to go tell you which are the books that I read, because there's so many that I couldn't even read them all. Okay, everybody hold on tight, and I will get to this. Meanwhile, I'll tell you that by light romance, I mean, she told tales of a little farm in Scotland when she was living with her children, and it has a little love story, and one of her someone had died, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to tell you the novels that I read because there's so many of them. The ones that I really liked are called the Victoria Cottage Trilogy. It's Victoria Cottage, Music in the Hills, Winter, and Rough Weather, because it has the same people in it. They're just sweet, and they're just about family, and they're just in the hills, and I really enjoyed them. Sometimes the news is so terrible and so discomforting that I enjoyed that. A lot of people have told me they love the Miss Bunkle books, and I'm probably going to download one of those soon. And then another one that I also listened to was called Amberwell and Summer Hills. So you'll have to listen to my podcast again to write all those down. The Victoria Cottage Trilogy, Victoria Cottage, Music in the Hills, Winter and Rough Weather. And then I also liked Amberwell and Summer Hills. Now, I'm kind of referring to these because I told you a few weeks ago that I really liked telling you about books that could enter you into a world that you could enjoy for a time, that are just for pleasure and really enjoyment. And you can enter into her little Scottish Hills books. And I loved, because my children went to university at St. Andrews in Scotland, it was really fun to find a Scottish writer. And the interesting thing I found out was that her father was a lighthouse engineer. I guess they needed engineers for a lot of lighthouses in the old days. And he was a first cousin to Robert Louis Stevenson. And her father said, "I do not want my daughter to become a blue stocking." Well, I didn't know what a blue stocking was. A blue stocking is a term for an educated, intellectual woman. And originally, they were a member of the 18th century Blue Stocking Society from England. But originally, they referred to men as the people who were educated. But then Blue Stocking became literally a woman who was educated, and he wanted his daughter to be a proper woman who was able to keep house and stay at home and have a life-giving place for her children. And so she, at first, when she became a writer, she kept it private, and her father didn't even know about it. And she was actually both. She was a lovely wife, mother, and a professional writer of many books and became famous in her lifetime. But I thought you might want to know about those books. All right, so I have had a surge of letters and messages from people. Thank you, my friends, for writing to me. Many of you have said, well, I would love to help launch your book and be like an invisible launch team to you. So can you just tell us, what are we supposed to do? Well, I am going to tell you 5 or 6 ways that you can help spread the news about this book in the world. The thing is, in this time, in our generation, I am passionate about women understanding that they are civilizers, educators, they're spiritual, they're beautiful, they're lovers, they're peacemakers, they're creative. I love who women are, and I also love to see women live into their capacity when they have the privilege of becoming life givers in a home, and oftentimes with children or without children, but that women could really know that homes become the place of stability. Homes become the launching pad for messages of righteousness and hope and peace when we take the time to make our homes the life-giving places. And so I love messages of discipleship, motherhood, family, education, women living into their capacity by bringing beauty and life and goodness in a stable harbor of safety through a home. And so I think that it could change culture. And so I try to write books that will change culture, but I don't know if this statistic is correct or not, but evidently 90% of people who have read my books, how in the world do people know how to find this information? But over 90% of people who read my books were given a book by a friend, or they were told about a book by a friend. So in other words, people found our books because you shared with them. And so that's why in the absence at the moment of having an official launch team, these are ways that you can help me kind of spread this message that all of us hold in common of loving the Lord, loving people, loving home, and making life-giving servant places for people to be able to find beauty and goodness and encouragement and faith. So anyway, this is what you can do. First of all, if you can, buy yourself a copy of the book and read it, because then you'll know whether you want to recommend it or not. But I'm sure you'll love this book because it's just a blessing to me. I think that if you generally are a kindred spirit, you will love this book. And then buy a copy for a friend if you want to. It's an expensive book. I'm hoping that the price comes down, as it usually does over time. But anyway, or buy one for a Mother's Day present for somebody that you love and hold dear. When you have a book for somebody to see that you can show to someone, that really makes a lot of difference. All right, now this is another way. When I share on Instagram or Facebook, all you have to do is share my post and leave a comment about it. Make your own comment about it. I do all the work, or my assistants do all the work with me. We put a post up, share my stories that I have on Instagram. I think that my publishers helped put together a beautiful video of what the book looks like inside, the pictures, the Bible studies, the journaling places, the recipes, the different kinds of teas that I share, the stories about discipleship of my children, discipleship in my home, all through Teatime. So when I share my video, which I'm going to probably share about once a week or so, and the reason why you keep sharing the same thing over and over again is because Facebook and Instagram has this algorithm. So the first however many people that happen to see that post, then they cut it out and they don't promote it. It doesn't come through the feed after that. So every week, even let's say if you have 100,000 followers, it could be that only 5,000 of those followers, or if you have, let's say you have 1,000 followers, only 200 of those followers will even see your post. So you repeat it different weeks so that other people can also see the same post. Make up your own poster. I know there's a lot of people in my membership, and if they would do the same, if they would send a post, make up a poster, we're sending them some posters that you can also copy from our stories. And so share the video, share the posters. And anyway, if you want to, you can also put the hashtag Teatime Discipleship Book. And then people can actually go to a page, they can look up Teatime Discipleship Book and see all the posters, all the posts about that book there. So, my friends, thank you for helping me. Let's be an invisible launch team together. Thank you for asking. And that really does help our ministry get into the world. I'll write, you share. There we go. That's easy enough. All right. So I wanted to share a couple of other things. I feel like one of the things that, I wanted to share with you some music that I think is really perfect right now for Lent. I had a couple of different things I was going to share in music, but I've been listening to this one in light of Lent. I feel like in our lives right now, we are all just an eyelash away from disaster. In other words, we can look at the world and say that there are so many difficult things going on. And yet still, every day God causes the sun to shine, the sun to set in beauty, the stars to stay in place. He holds us in this world through his gravity. He gives us the flowers of the seasons. He is still there loving us. So the last couple of years when Joel and Joy were in St. Andrews, they used some of their time. Joel composed the music, put the music together and the lyrics, and then he and Joy recorded this album, and you can find it on Apple Music or on Spotify, but this is the whole album, and it's called Prayers for the Time of Trial. And as I'm during Lent, I like to look over the stories of Christ leading up to the crucifixion, his discipleship times with his loved ones, with his friends. And so the five songs are Lighten Our Darkness, Hail King, Ubi Caritas, Sutum Presidium, and May the Peace. So there are these kind of contemplative songs. If you're able to kind of light a candle and sit with something to sip or just a lovely room to sit in for just a few minutes and can contemplate these songs, especially the ones you can understand in English, I think that you will find them to be really encouraging to you. So go to Joel Clarkson, artist, and that's where you'll find Prayers for the Time of Trial. All right, my friends, I've been going quite a while now. So I want to end today with some Bible verses, and I've done this before, but I feel like something that has held me over the past few years is an understanding of this long marathon race, what it looks like to be steadfast and to be loyal and to be faithful and to keep going, to build your momentum, to build your muscle, because your long-term story, being able to keep going in marriage with a difficult child, in a difficult financial situation, in a difficult health situation. As I look back, I had all of my children were, I don't know why, but it was my lot to carry, ear-infected asthmatics. Even though we had the emergency asthma machines at our house, there would be times when my children couldn't breathe. And all of them were hospitalized, put on oxygen, given steroids. I tried every natural thing in the world. We did everything we possibly could. We limited food, allergies, and so on and so forth. But I look back now, we've had car wrecks. We've had just so many different things over the years. But I look back now and I feel like that whole idea of steadfast, staying fast, staying strong, walking one more day. Wow, it really helped our children to understand how they could be strong in a fallen world. We walked them through things. We didn't protect them from things. We walked them through things. And I really am so glad I learned this concept. So in Psalm 62:7, it says, "In God is my salvation and my glory, the rock of my strength, my refuge is in God." A rock, a mountain is immovable. Blessed is the man, James says, blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life. When he has stood the test, there's so many difficulties in this world, but God is the rock of my strength. And the one who is steadfast in trial will receive the crown of life, which God has promised for all of those who love him. James 1:12. If we truly believe in God and hold on to his promises little by little, then every day is a time for us to seek how to be faithful, how to be at peace, how to be strong, how to be immovable. I was talking to one of my children today who's going through a time of trial. My children are always going through times of trial just like me. And I said, as a mama, because I love you, I want to come up with a solution to just fix your trial, to take it away from you, to make all things good. And I can't do that. I can't solve your problems for you. You have to walk your own journey in your own time. But I can be there as someone who sympathizes. I can't fix it, but I can love you. I can encourage you. I can make you a meal. I can put some lotion on your hands and give you a hand rub. I can take you out for coffee or tea or have some at my house, bring you flowers. But you will have to learn how to be immovable and faithful, at peace, to be strong, because I believe in your capacity to handle your story, and your story will give you a place to have compassion and humility for other people. And we had a great conversation. Every day when I go outside in Colorado, Clay, I'm coming next week, I'll be there, and begin driving toward town. We live in the mountains and we drive towards town. My mountains are there. They're stable, they're immovable, they're solid. This is what God compares himself to. The mountains, the immovable mountains. I've been pondering this for the last few days. I have pondered this many times. And I strain in my lifetime. It's a commitment when I feel like it and when I don't. I strain to learn how to be stable and strong and a refuge for others, dependable, steadfast, like the immovable mountains. God said, when you build your life upon the rock, when the rains come and the storms come, you will not be moved. I feel like right now is a time to lean into our ability to be strong, my friends. Don't listen to the news. It will be destructive to you. We all have capacity to exercise our wills for the sake of our love for Christ, to wait for him to direct our lives, and understanding that, like young children, we don't know what's going on. We don't know the end story. We don't know the spiritual battle that's taking place. Daniel prayed to God, and the angels eventually came to him and said, we were trying to come to you, but the spiritual battle was so strong, we could not get through. But your prayer matters. This is a time for us to act in light of our hope, preparing to understand that God is preparing a place where all things will be redeemed. It's a time to show others, our families, our children, our friends, that our hope is sure. not false, that they may draw from our faith. It is a time we can write the days of our own sequestering near God as ones of growth, strength, love, beauty, because God is with us. He is a rock. He is immovable. He is our refuge. And this is my prayer for you, that you will find the will to live into God, the God-given capacity in your own life, to be strong, to persevere with faith and with your eyes upon Him. I'm so very grateful that when I take time to be thankful and write it in my journal, I can see that God has been so faithful, so generous. Even in times like right now when I'm waiting for impossible answers, I know that He has gone before me, that He will answer me, that He will guide me. I pray for my children, for my marriage, for my ministry, and I pray for you, dear friends. And I pray that today you may be able to find rest and peace and strength in your own life, and to know His strength and steadfastness in all of your circumstances today. So let me pray. Lord, thank you so much for this community of women. Thank you for the fact that we can all even come together. I am praying for them. Maybe they can pray for one another, Father, that you would break through their darkness, that you would show them your light, that you would give them hope, that you would help them to know that every day of faithfulness is building in the direction of leaving a legacy of goodness and love and beauty for those around them. Lord, especially help my friends to know your love today, your enduring, everlasting love for them, and give them deep, bubbling over hope in their lives through your wonderful Holy Spirit, I pray. I thank you and I come to you in the precious name of my Savior, Jesus. And thank you for loving us so much, Lord. Amen. All right, my friends, have a really fun week. Take time to drink a little cup of something wonderful and to breathe in peace every day. Get your book. Send me your stories. Tell me your music and your favorite books. And I pray joy for you today. Bye-bye. I hope you've enjoyed our time together today and that you'll join me next week. Be sure to look for more inspiration on my blog at sallyclarkson.com. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.